This episode of Go Be Wyoming is brought to you by Fly Sheridan. Save time, fly local, Fly Sheridan. And welcome back in, Wyoming Knuckleheads, to another episode of GoBeWYO. I'm your host, Aaron Gray, and our guest today is a recurring guest, director of the Antelope Butte Foundation, John Kirlin.
Howdy.
Yeah, back in the studio. We were last time we were in the what was the Shred Shack? Or
the Shred Shack,
yeah,
or the Mouse Shack, and we all had to get some sort of vaccination after that.
Yes. Well, at the time, I don't think. Man, that was back like March of 2021, or let's see, because it was 2020, or I can't remember. Anyways, there was no vaccine at the time.
None, not quite. None.
And it was outside. I'm not going to consider that shack an indoor facility.
No, there were walls and there's a roof, but that
was about it.
I don't think that still qualifies it as inside.
Yeah, but that was with Zach and I. That was our first time kind of like getting everything off the ground. We had Nikki there, but that was actually at Antelope Butte. So
yes,
we're excited to have you back in and talk to us about this upcoming season. And just for everyone listening too, we've got Carter running the board and the cameras, and Carter is a frequent traveler to Antelope Butte. So
yeah, I'd say at least once about every weekend for the last couple of years I've been up there. Actually, first time I think I unofficially met John was when I put my car in the ditch opening day last year. So
yes, that was fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a blast that day.
Yeah.
So it's good to officially
3 cars in
meet
the
you.
ditch on like that weekend last year.
Well, I guess I'm happy to say I started it off.
Nailed it.
So.
Yeah.
You started John's day of pulling people out of the ditch and opening day.
Yeah, he actually just said, you can find your way. No.
Yeah, good luck. Well, and you had it wedged up like on one of the delineator posts, so your like front end wasn't even touching the ground.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. One of the reflector posts got stuck right behind my rear tire and had it all kinds of jacked up.
Jacked up, and it was wild.
How'd you get him out?
Oh, we combination of trucks and snowcats and head scratching.
Yeah, exactly. Took us a little bit, but it's all right.
The old hands in the pocket. How are we gonna do this here?
Yeah, I consider just going snowboarding and then figuring it out at the end of the day, but
let them handle it. Just leave it there.
Well, that's what Sam Pham did. He was number 2. He came in and he just it's in. I'll just call John at the end of the day. And of course, as I'm getting ready to leave, by the way, I'm stuck way out there. So
I'm glad we're doing this now.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's funny. Well, that's awesome. I didn't know that, Carter. That's funny.
Yeah, Civic's still up and going, so guess it could have been a lot worse.
Yes, could have. Yeah. Well, and you're okay too. That's
I got to snowboard that day. Got to enjoy opening day. A little later than expected, but that's all right.
It was good.
Talking about opening day, when can we expect, because the mountains have been getting some snow, when do we expect opening day this year?
Opening day this year, let me look at my calendar, because I'm stuck in between November and December, and I always say the wrong date for the wrong month.
That happens. No, it happens.
It's a terrible thing. I actually don't pay attention to calendars anymore in time, because it's just non-existent.
Well, you've had a sick kiddo. The first time we were going to record, you had a sick kiddo, and... And then now the other guests are gone because they're sick, and then
busy. But right now, the tentative opening day is going to be December 17th.
December 17th. That's almost a week or a month. Sorry.
Yeah, a month.
Month and a half.
Yeah.
Month and a half.
And big part of that, everybody hopes that we can open sooner.
Yes.
And my goals were to try and do maybe something like a limited opening around Thanksgiving. But we're still working on the lodge, still doing some of the finished pieces there, and I really don't want to open with porta potties. So and with the snow, it's always hard because we don't have any snowmaking on the hill. So we're reliant totally on what comes naturally. And we usually get some good early season snow, but December has typically always been historically a dry month into about the 2nd, 3rd week of January. And so what ends up happening is if we open over Thanksgiving, it gets skied off, and then we have to close runs over Christmas break, and then people are, that's the bread and butter of the season when people have the holiday season. So if we are closing runs over the holiday, it's not great.
Yeah.
So we just, rather than getting too ahead of ourselves, we do a better job with just managing the snow that we can get and save it. And we kind of stockpile it and farm it in certain drift areas, so we can, in those high skier traffic flow areas, we can keep that open throughout the holiday season. And then when we get into January, especially into February, we start really seeing the weather. Then it's fantastic. But
very cool.
Yeah, no, got to have that base. Yeah, can't run the base off and then not have a good season. So, well, okay, so keep praying for more snow is what we're looking for. 17th of December. You kind of hit on a couple things already, but give us a recap of the summer in this, end of spring, summer, and fall. You guys split up your summer fundraising. Yep. And then you kind of mentioned the lodge. So
so we had another great summer up there. We had 3 of our events, the Bighorn REA Summer Concert Series, and those have been a fun kind of take on what some of our former events were, but just breaking it up into 3 different weekends of concerts and beer sales, merchandise. We had the kids tent with arts and crafts, things like that, where we could do like face painting and tie dyeing. That was actually a pretty big hit with the kids. They really enjoyed doing that. And just a cool thing, cool vibe to come up on the mountain, surrounded by wildflowers and wildlife, and sitting in Fun Valley up there and having music, having libations. Camping was free, and it was a really cool turnout. We had we had weather 2 out of the 3 of them. The June event, it rained a ton, and it was kind of chilly, but that was the Brewfest event too. And people, anytime I've been to Brewfest and the weather still, people are actually almost come out more.
Yep.
And the chili beer will always win a Brewfest if it's going to be raining. Yes. Everybody's like, oh yeah, 8% chili beer.
Yep.
And so
they need to stay warm. It's cold out.
Yeah, exactly. And they all flock and they all cuddle around these small brewer tents, and it's kind of fun. And then our last event, we had some weather too, and it was wild, and I felt so bad because we had the 2 Tracks up there, local group, and they're fantastic. They play fantastic music, and they're truly pros at it. And this is the second time we've had them up there for one of these events, and they got rained out.
Get rained out.
But in good nature and good fun, they just kept going, because what happened is the power went out, and so I'm running around frantically while trying to figure, was it our breaker? Did we trip something? And was it the sound guys? Was it some of their equipment? And so the 2 Tracks, being the pros they were, instead of just stopping, they kind of continued playing, thinking, well, we'll get the power right back up, and they'll do their thing while we do our thing. The power went out all over the entire mountain.
Right.
It was, and so it was just like, okay, this is beyond our control. But they were good sports, and as soon as I knew that we had no power, there were people kind of still in the crowd. I just got up to the stage and just waved them all down. So the crowd just came down to the stage and huddled around, and they just played acoustic for another probably 45 minutes there in the rain, and people were drinking beer and dancing in the mud, and it was a lot more of an intimate, true experience. So people are going to remember that probably more than they would have if the power stayed on, the sun was shining.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah. Great to hear, because I know you guys this was different. COVID made it the summer different, because usually it's one big event, right?
Yeah,
we used to do weekend.
Yeah, we used to do one big weekend, and so last summer, the summer of 2020, that's when everything was shutting down, and we had limits to outdoor gatherings and stuff like that, and everybody was closing down, because with a big event, your hard costs, entertainment, vendors, things like that, staffing, they don't go away. But if you cap the amount of people that can come, your revenue gets cut into a third, and so that's why everybody was closing. And it's like, not because they didn't want to do it, it's just because the calculator said no.
Yeah.
And we scratched our heads, and our board voted to just say, well, we can't do this. We've got to cancel as well. I let it sit overnight, and we just came back and we said, no, actually, we've got we've got to keep going on, do something. So we kind of chopped our budget from one big event, spread it over 4 events in 2020, and then had those caps and actually made it a little bit more of a logistical ease because we had limits. And so people were, they had to buy and get them in advance, get tickets in advance.
Right.
So it actually on that side is like, oh, we know exactly how many people we're going to have up here. Sometimes when it's open-ended and true Wyoming nature, no one decides to go until the day of. And so when you're planning any kind of event like that, it's just a nightmare. You're like, well, how many T-shirts should we have? How many beer vendors? How many this and that? And when you show up at an event last minute and you don't plan for that, like our Brewfest this year, we ran out of cups. So we ended up just start getting out plastic cups just because we had a bunch of, 150 people show up that we didn't count on.
Right.
And so this year, though, everybody else kind of caught on to the COVID wave and like how to kind of do some of these events. And with, the regulations being lessened and loosened, all of a sudden everybody was doing an event again. And so we had to kind of think creatively on that and compete against stuff that, there were 4 other events going on within the 3 surrounding counties of us, every single one of our events.
Yeah.
And so, and trying to book artists and sound guys, I had to run sound actually in the middle event because there wasn't a professional sound person available and sound crew within a 300-mile radius because they were all booked out and they were actually split up. A lot of them were doing like 3 events between their organizations those days. So it's like, oh, everybody's back to work.
Yeah.
And then, I talked to our porta potty guys and they said this summer was the biggest they've ever had. They've out of 20 years being in the business, they've never done this in many events. And so this 2021 summer was actually kind of chaos. And so we're looking at different options now. We kind of always fine-tuning, riding that wave and, trying to stay up on our feet on the board, if you will. And so trying to catch the break before it actually breaks.
Right.
So looking at other options, we might go back to a couple of large, like just a brew fest and then a 3-day festival, but then having every weekend up there, maybe still doing a smaller concert series. So something that's not trying to be a 1,000 people showing up, but maybe 100 people showing up and doing a little bit more intimate. And we built actually a smaller stage over by the base of the summit lift and kind of geared that for like wedding ceremonies and smaller, more intimate events like that. So
cool.
Yeah, always looking for kind of the next thing and what's the community want to do when they're participating up there.
Mm-hmm.
I would second just, when everyone was starting back up in the events, I think you hit it on the head of you've got to be different and you've got to be intimate. It just can't be an event to be an event. Like people aren't going to go because they're going to have 4 options. And it's like, well, I'm going to go to, a live acoustic concert, or we're going to book a wedding or a small party up there instead of, just doing it to do it. So that's exciting. Well, that'll be exciting to see this summer what you guys want to do. So
I'm already reaching out to some bigger names. That's kind of where I'd like to go with it, especially since we've been bringing on some help on our team and taking some of the other hats off my head per se. Nice. It allows me to kind of start looking at some of these things that we've been doing for a while and that really are kind of in my wheelhouse, and I can reach out to my former connections and say, hey, this large name artist, can we get you up here and maybe we really kind of blow it out.
We'll bring back the Trails End Museum. Used to do those big concert series. Man, Antelope Butte would be a way prettier place to do it at.
Yeah,
I mean, Antelope is pretty in the winter, but you go up there this summer, man. It's really hard to beat.
Yeah, so that's on the radar for sure.
Got any names?
Yeah.
Got any scoops? Can we get some?
No.
Keeping that close to the chest there.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Let's see here. So this is the 4th year operating.
Correct.
Kind of hit on a couple things already, but as we were talking before we started recording, so there's with some new runs done.
Yep.
We're hoping 30 new runs total.
We got
right now
30 total runs on the mountain right now. that are on the map that have a number assigned to them.
Gotcha.
I know because I just placed the order a couple of weeks ago for those signs.
Number and names.
Yeah, number and names. We still have, out of those 30, we actually have one that's still available. I can't even remember which number it is. But what we've been doing is doing, sponsors or donations for naming rights of these runs, and anywhere from $15,000 to $100,000. We've got one more, and it's kind of based off the intensity level of the run, or is it a top to bottom and length of the run, and so that's kind of a couple different factors that cause the pricing of that. We've got one more that is available at $100,000, and then actually what we're getting ready to launch here is run number 31, and which will be it's just kind of a lower catwalk that connects some of the like Sue's Moose and Ashley's Alley and Fast Eddie, some of that far kind of western side, that catwalk there. We're going to open it up to a community vote. And so the community will have the opportunity to pick names on this. I mean, they'll have to be kind of family friendly. We have parameters, things like that. But, if you're familiar with that Bodie McBoatface campaign that went on in the UK about naming this boat, and the name was hilarious. And the one that actually won in the community was Bodie McBoatface. And then the government said, no, we're not naming our
it's not going to do that.
$1 billion boat, Bodie McBoatface.
But you don't foresee that happening with Antelope Butte?
We'll have a little bit more flexibility in that regard, but certain things, and we have to follow certain rules with the Forest Service on things like that. But we're going to get ready to launch the campaign soon, and we'll have it open for a few weeks where people, you donate $50 and you can submit a name.
Gotcha.
You can submit X amount, however many amount of names, but it costs $50 to have a name in the running.
Gotcha.
And then
each name's $50.
Yeah, and then after that, what we will do is we will compile all the names, and they have to obviously meet the parameters. If you submit a name for $50 and it's Jerky McJerkface, we thank you for your $50 contribution. Yes. That's not making the list.
Yep, love it.
But then after that, we will then open up the list to all the public for a vote, and then it's $10 per vote.
Cool.
And so if you have a name that makes it in and you spent your $50, then get all your friends on, hey, we're going to all vote for Steve's leg.
Yeah. $10.
Yeah, $10. And then, then total number of votes wins.
Well, I love it.
Nice.
So that's kind of the basis of the campaign for trail number, I believe, 31.
There you go. So will that be open by this season, or?
It should be. So we, in the next couple of weeks, it's at the time of this, it's the November 3rd. We hope to launch this here in the next couple of weeks, and then have voting all said and done by December 11th.
Oh, wow. So quickly, very quick. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking you guys could do it if people were up at like skiing, they could do it up there too. But okay, that's cool. If you have ties, I was thinking like with basketball season, like if there are names that are tying, then you could do like brackets,
that'd be cool.
So anyways, just a thought, that'd be kind of cool. Get some competition going.
Yeah.
Well, and the cool thing is we've got a lot of opportunity up there. We've been jumping into our master development plan, because now that we've got the area kind of back to what it once was, now as we apply for a long-term Forest Service permit, we also will submit a master development plan. And so we've had a survey out, and we've been reaching out to stakeholders in the community of like, what do you want to see on the mountain? Currently, we have a 500-acre permit that we sit on, and we actually have that 500 acres. Only 250 of those are skiable, and so there's potential to cut in more lines, more runs there. So there'll be more naming opportunities in that regard, and so it's kind of fun there. What we hope to do is actually grow that 500 into about a 1,500-acre permit area and expand just kind of the south side of us, the sunny side, and then maybe even across the highway, but that's up to the community and the government to see what that looks like. But yeah, there's a lot of potential growth and opportunity.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's almost, if it went to that, that's what, that's triple, quadruple what you guys have now. So that'd be amazing. on the name thing, I was thinking of, I'm glad you guys aren't doing it like the Washington football team.
Yeah.
Gosh, they come up with the 10 names. I'm like, who the frick is coming up with these names?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys are going to go community way.
I think they just need to just call it the Washington football team and just be done with it. Like,
Yeah.
You've already got the branding now. No one else is that. Just do that.
Well, and I think that's their plan. I think they put 9 really bad ones out there, and they're like, well, we could still be the Washington football team. It's like, well, your 9 options are terrible. So,
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
that's awesome. Talked about that. Carter, is there anything you thought of to ask him?
If someone was wanting to take their family up there, how do you get to Antelope Butte?
How do you get there? So first thing would be, probably check out the website. We just relaunched and kind of redid our website as of 2 days ago. So go to www. Do I even have to say that anymore? People know. You just type it in.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm old. We can even do http://www. No, just go.
Don't confuse the youth, John, because they're not going to know the forward, backward slash.
Yeah, they no. Yeah. Just go to antelopebutte.org, and we've got a great landing page there, and you can learn either about the foundation, but you can also see stuff for buying tickets, season passes, punch cards. We just launched our punch cards online. Some of the things that we're doing a little differently this year is we're going to encourage people to pre-buy their passes and lift tickets and rentals and lessons. So we, to incentivize that, our ticket prices will actually be $6 cheaper if you buy online than if you go and walk up on the window. And same thing with rentals, things like that. Because we got to kind of plan for the folks that are coming up.
Yes.
And especially getting the rentals and the lessons set up, being able to know how much we have and be able to truly serve our guests to the best of our ability. And so that's kind of the reason why we're doing that. And then on there, you'll see maps and directions. We'll have a drop-down menu that has links for the current weather report. We'll have some of our staff that'll be up there 24/7 to be able to help give us updates on snow reports. That's been a hard thing, as everybody's calling me first thing in the morning. Hey, what's the weather? I'm like, well, I'm in Sheridan. I don't know. Sorry. Because we haven't had occupancy in the lodge yet, so not able to live up there. There are times I would be, and we'd be in a camper that's not meant for winter camping and stuff. But, and then connectivity is always really hard up there. So being able to truly get that out has been something that we've been working on really hard. But it's just, we can't provide the connectivity and the data that the community kind of expects, because everywhere else, when you're running 5G networks and broadband up there, I'm just kind of sending smoke signals from one side of the mountain to the other and hoping that it's a clear day.
Right.
So, but getting on our website, getting on our socials, we'll be launching a couple of new social platforms as well. Some stuff specifically for the mountain recreation area. Some of the things we're looking at, some cool content like Send It Sunday and some featured Fridays where we'll use user content, and if you want to be featured on our social page and doing a backflip or something like that, send us your videos and your Insta links and stuff like that. And so getting more people involved with that, just that stoke up on the hill.
Very cool.
That sounds awesome. It sounds exciting. On that same question, they can go to the website and learn about the mission of Antelope Butte. Correct. But why would a family want to go to Antelope Butte, or why would you want a family to consider going to Antelope Butte?
Well, it's just it's a great, safe, fun environment for the whole family. If you've never done it before, you can go up there as a youth or an old timer and try out a set of rentals and lesson and get on the Sun Kid there on the carpet lift and just have a great learning experience and be able to try that. If your kids go out and rip and you just don't have the passion or even the desire to go out and rip with them or the energy to rip with them, we've got other options up there. We've got our Nordic trails, so we've got cross-country skiing there, fat biking, snowshoeing availabilities and stuff like that. We're going to be in the lodge this season, so that's going to be huge. And so you'll be able to sit in a warm, dry space next to a fire. We've got our malt beverage permit, so that's really exciting. So you'll be able to purchase beer up there. We're not going to do the whiskey drinks yet.
Too soon.
Too soon. Until maybe I have like real lodging up there.
Yeah.
I don't really want to push the hard alcohol.
Yes.
It's kind of a long, sketchy drive if you're in the dark. No thanks.
Yep. Awesome. No, that was great. Cool. That was a great explanation there. John, you kind of hit on a couple already, but what were some of the biggest challenges this last summer? And then what are some of the challenges you guys see this season?
I mean, our biggest challenge is always going to be the proximity to the population. We're 65 miles away from Sheridan. We're 40 some miles away from Dayton, and same thing from Gray Bowl, 20 miles out of Shell, and we're in rural northern Wyoming in the middle of a mountain range. So connectivity, communications is always kind of a challenge for us. Right. There's no phone lines up there. There's no broadband internet. There's none of that stuff that the modern world is using to operate on. People are using their cell phones to buy stuff and talk to people and do all that. And I'm not able to really provide that type of service. We're getting closer. We're looking at ways that the state can be involved and the federal government can be involved, because it has become a demand as a public utility to have that kind of connectivity, and it's a safety issue. When people are recreating up there,
getting stuck on a reflector pole,
getting your vehicle stuck, and we've gone out. We'll get calls. Our ski patrol is fantastic, and they go out, and not just on our area, but we had some snowmobilers come in off the trail last year. There was a guy, he's probably 20 miles away from us, but went into having a heart attack. And we were able to get a helicopter via our dispatch and go out and help them.
Right.
And send our people out there and do that. So what having us up there does is it does facilitate more safe options for folks, but it doesn't mean that you can just, go up there willy-nilly and expect there's going to be in 10 minutes an ambulance or something like that.
Right.
Anytime, an ambulance is still an hour away from time of incident. If we hear it from time we actually hear and make the call, an ambulance is going to be about an hour away. And so challenges is absolutely that. It's that proximity piece.
Sure.
And the connectivity. But we're finding ways around that. We use some kind of residential, they're not even business rated satellites because there aren't anything available for us right now in that regard. But so we're just using something like a residential satellite that a cabin owner would put on their cabin to get some basic internet connection, and we run a voice over IP just so we can have a phone line there. And then we use radios with the Bighorn County Dispatch to be able to do our safety pieces. But those are always going to be our biggest challenges there.
Sure.
The folks that want to come up and do multi-days, things like that, we don't have the infrastructure in place yet for lodging and even really overnight camping. With our summer events and certain things, we draw permits that allow us to do kind of rough or kind of really rustic dry camping, but we don't actually have true campground facilities, things like that. Right. That's something that we're looking at with our master development plan, is implementing that. So yeah, the access to lodging, the closest would be Elkview, Arrowhead, and Bear Lodge, or down in Shell, there's some vacation rentals and things like that, or the Gray Bowl, or the Shell campground, things like that. So as we move into the future, we're definitely cognizant of those challenges, and we want people to be able to safely recreate up there and be able to do it not just for 8 hours at a time and then they got to go leave. And so we want to keep people to truly get the full experience that they want up there.
Sure.
And so looking at ways to be able to provide that. Yeah.
No, that's wonderful, and I think you're right, because Pure Energy did a staff appreciation day last year, and I was there, and there were these guys from, I think they said they're from Casper and Gillette, and I'm just thinking man, and I think they spent the night at Bear Lodge or something, but there's that opportunity of they'd love to stay probably for a weekend.
Totally.
And so no, that's great. What would you say your guys' since you've been the director, or just the 4 years of operating for Antelope Butte, what has been the successes that Antelope has seen. 4 years is pretty young. That's and especially going through a pandemic. So, but what are we talked about some challenges, but what have been some successes that you guys have seen?
I'd say our biggest successes have just been the integration and implementation of like our youth programs and getting programming our lessons, and not just catered solely to the youth, but for the family involved, because we know that if you're going to bring a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old up, you're also coming up with them. And so how can we provide a full family experience on that? And so really taking a conscious effort and look at how to be intentional about that whole family experience, keeping our prices as low as we can. Obviously, the world, the shape that it's in, inflation, it's a real thing. And so trying to get affordable housing for staffing, things like that. We've been really strategic in how we hire and recruit folks, and just so we can keep the cost as low as we can for the families. But then also some of the wins that we've had is the community and the stakeholders, donors that come in and help subsidize those costs for those families that can't afford it.
Yeah.
And so having that model in place for that availability allows us to go to some of these other schools and these families that they've never been past, Acme.
Right.
Kind of deal. And now we're getting them up on a bus, on the mountain, into something that could change their life forever.
Yes.
So that's I'd say our biggest win is getting that level of impact and influence and introduction to all user groups. Modifying with the things that we have. Last year's heated porta potties, I'd say that's one of our big wins.
Yes. Those were. Yeah.
That was
the irony of having heated toilets in a walk-in freezer.
Got to do what you got to do.
And it worked out.
It worked out. Yes. And that's just kind of been the nature of how we've been running, is just we're not going to be able to be perfect.
Right.
But we want to serve at the best level that we can, and we want to overserve as much as we can. And so with the resources that we have available to us, we're thinking about every aspect, from when you're pulling in and I have to pull you out of the ditch, or to when you're getting your tickets and what's that line looking like, to what's the restroom look like. The restroom is truly the face of any organization. Yes. If you go into that restroom, especially mom or grandma go into that restroom and it's gross, they're probably not coming back.
Right.
And so trying to think of all of those little things that are going to add up to a successful, wonderful experience for the guests, because we're here for that. If the guests aren't coming up, I'm out of a job. All our folks are out of a job. And so we truly want to serve as best we can up there. That's kind of been some of our wins, is just getting that introduction, getting people introduced to it, and just providing different levels of opportunity and experience for people up there, so they can do it as a group, as a family, and then trying to, work with every resource that we have to overserve our guests.
Very cool.
Yeah. Great answer.
So you talked about your new punch cards.
Yes.
And then, so just walk us through like prices of what just a day pass, and then maybe a season pass would cost you.
Yeah. So I'll just go off of just kind of the adult passes right now that I have on top of my brain. So an adult pass, if you buy online, is going to be $46 for a day pass. And we will have a cutoff, a 24-hour window there. And so then if you buy that online, you're basically reserving your ticket, and you can go up to the ticket window. We'll have a will call specifically for that. Then you can get your actual physical ticket. The reason why we're doing that is we're phasing into probably what will be an RFID system. Yep. So all the other resorts are doing that, where you have a scanner and you can get your card, and then you can just reload your card. We're on phase 1 of that with a new company that we've been working with this year. The hardware, we didn't have the availability and the infrastructure to be able to go full bore with this system yet. And we didn't quite know how it was going to work. So we're kind of doing a hybrid. But like I said, $46 adult, full day ticket. Otherwise, if you do a walk up, it's going to be $52. Yep. You can still come in, do that, but just a little bit of an increase there, mostly for us to drive traffic to the pre-sales. Mm-hmm. And then Season pass right now. The adult is at $400. It'll go on December 1st. It'll go up to $460. And then we most resorts will basically 10 days of their full day lift ticket price is kind of what most resorts will do for their pass. That's what I've seen, and we're still cheaper than just about anywhere in the region.
Yeah, certainly.
Yes,
definitely.
Looking, several of these other places are $100 to $300, $500. I was looking at Bridger, and we don't have the terrain like Bridger and the population like Bridger, but they're $1,000.
Yeah.
For a season pass. So we still are trying to be as affordable and accessible as possible there. Then our punch cards, they're kind of that hybrid in between. So you get 5 uses, and you just come up anytime that you want to use it. We don't have any blackout dates on that, and you'll get, if you buy the punch pass, you'll actually get $5 off per day off of that. So we've got them priced out for an adult is $205, and so that's at $41 per day. So it's actually, you're getting a discount there. And then if you were to, you're also saving even more, because if you were to just do those random days as walk-ins, those would be at $52. So you're saving yourself $9 per day.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a good option for folks that want to do that, and it's also become a great for gift cards. The families that are like, well, I don't know if we're going to be able to do all
10 days
or use to feel like I'm justifying a season pass, but I could probably do 5, and you can also use them for stocking stuffers, things like that.
Yeah, very cool.
So
that's awesome.
those are the kind of the different pricing options that we have, and we've got them all displayed now on our website, and we're kind of pushing them out now on our social sites and stuff like that. So
wonderful.
And then did I see last year where you guys had an option for maybe some businesses wanting to get involved for the business lift tickets?
Absolutely. So we do. Thanks for bringing that up. We've got a corporate pass option, and the way that is set up is kind of based off of the size of your company. If you have 10 or fewer employees, it's $500 per pass. Well, actually, it's across the board, $500 per pass, but it's transferable within your organization. So you can have, if you have some guests come in or multiple staff that are on your team and want to go up, they can use it. But what they do is they'll go up to the window, present the pass, get in exchange for a lift ticket that day. That way I don't have like 20 people showing up. Hey, here's our ticket. We write down the number and just to keep honest
track.
There.
Yep.
But it's been a great perk that we've seen some of these organizations that have been on board with it. They had waiting lists, like First Federal Bank, for example. They had all their passes that they use, all 6 of them were used every single weekend, every single day, which was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
And so it's a great perk for your team members. But like I said, it's kind of based off of the size of your organization. There's a minimum of 2 pass purchase with a 10 and under, and then a 4 pass purchase for 11 to 49. And then if you got 50 or more employees, it's a minimum of 6 passes. And then you can add on more than that too, if you want. But yeah, it's a great option. Or if you're bringing in, maybe looking at recruiting someone and talking about that sustainability piece and why it's cool to live here and recruit and retain great employees. Well, bring them in, show them the stuff we have at the town, talk to them at the breweries, and then take them up on the mountain for a day. That's an option that you can do, is you just bring your punch card or your pass there, and you get exchange there and get them hooked.
Nice.
Yeah, good pitch there. That was good. I didn't know you guys offered that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's great. They had all their passes used every weekend. That's awesome.
Yep, that's right. My mom actually works at First Fed, so I think a couple times at the beginning of the year she asked me if I wanted to use them, but after that it was no go. They were spoken
taken.
for.
Yeah.
So if you have a business that has a few skiers in it, feel free to get
or
the
like
corporate
John
pass.
Or like John said, if you're trying to recruit somebody, or if you've got guests in town, like that, what a great, usually it's the golf thing, right? Go take them to the golf course, but if it's wintertime, go take them up to Antelope
the hill.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's awesome.
Nice flexible option.
John, before I ask this last question, is there anything else you want to pitch on or mention since we've got you on here? Because this probably will be released at the end of November, right? December. So
okay, so one thing that we're going to have coming up, December 11th is we're going to have a kind of a season kickoff party. The name to be announced. What is the name? I saw it was like the Butte, Scoot, and Boogie or something like that.
Butte, Scoot, and
I saw
Boogie.
that. We're still working on that, but by the time this comes out,
that's
it'll be
it.
probably
That's it,
Butte, Scoot, and Boogie. I've got funny
Just kidding,
memories
we
of
won't
that song.
We won't hold you to that name.
But December 11th at Welcome Market Hall, it's going to be kind of a fun fundraiser for some of our annual fundraising. We're going to have some silent auctions, probably some live auctions. We've got some live entertainment. Chad Lord from Casper's coming up, and he's a great one-man band solo entertainer. He's almost more of a comedy show, and he's also a brilliant musician, but he'll keep you laughing and dancing all night long.
Love it.
And so we've got that coming up. And
just downstairs, Market Hall. Okay, December 11th.
It's going to be a party, a good fun time to just kind of kick off the season and then get ready for opening day.
Wonderful.
Very cool.
Awesome. So December 11th, and then we're fingers crossed 17th.
Correct.
So that works out great. So my last question, John, is you kind of hit on a couple of these, but in the next 5 years, where do you see Antelope Butte, and like what's the goal for Antelope Butte in the next 5 years?
Oh man, that's good. I mean, there's dreams, then there's goals, and then there's real.
Give me the dreams. Give me the dream.
Well, we've had all sorts of dreams, but realistically, and goals that we're looking for is have our long-term permit in place and our master development plan approved within the look at expansion, really into some year-round infrastructure pieces. So our parking and making that a better situation for year-round. We've over the last seasons, we've learned that our parking lots are already too small, and so we're going to need to do some improvements there and create a better parking situation, but not just for winter, but getting into the summer use. Having some campground type infrastructure, so possibly some RV hookups, maybe not full hookups, but at least having power availability and water, and do a couple RV pads or something like that, plus car camping options, and then some more restroom facilities throughout, probably like some vault toilets like that.
Yep.
And then the big thing is summer rec infrastructure, so like mountain bike trails and things like that. We really want to get into some lift service mountain biking options on the mountain, but that's probably going to require a whole nother lift. We are looking at those, and there's already in the previous master development plan that Emerson had, and when they closed, he had already purchased the lift, and it was sitting there ready to go on the west side of the mountain. But when everything closed, that got auctioned off to another area, and so, but we're kind of piggybacking off of that and what all the work that he'd already done, and he's actually on our planning committee with that because he's got just a wealth of knowledge there. But really looking at what does the true year-round sustainability piece look like? How can we get those folks that are driving from the Black Hills to Yellowstone with a whole rack of bikes on to stop and to use the spot and to use it appropriately? Having a designated space for them that's safe and where they're not going to get into a lot of, multi-use scenarios that could be potential hazards. We don't want a side-by-side ripping around on downhill mountain bike trails.
Yes.
Because that just causes issues. But we also don't want mountain bike trails to be ripping down onto grazing land to cause safety issues. And because we also have grazing permits up there and things like that. And, what's the time frame? It's also hunting access in there. So are we going to run throughout the whole summer into the fall during, hunting camp time? And that's so just some of those logistics, but still being able to provide some of those pieces to at least open the door for sustainable yet planned use.
Yeah.
And I must say, you guys would be the first in our area, at least, to offer that mountain biking and skiing in the winter.
Yeah.
That dual purpose. And I've seen it up at Big Sky, and they've actually gathered
they
decent sized mountain biking community, and it's like I went there on closing day for the mountain biking, and it was just packed, and it was really really cool. So
it's a fun opportunity, and with weather patterns, and you don't know what you can't control, And but being able to have options for the recreation and the education and the training to take place up there to stay true to our mission and have a place designated for that planned use and that availability. The beauty is if we can plan it out appropriately, because we're still on public land, we're still in there, so we're not going to see big condos and blown out real estate up there. It's still going to be pretty intimate environment.
Right.
And so, but it's also going to allow us to, get into some of that tourism vibe where people are going to come in and enjoy, but they're also going to go on about their way. They're going to continue on to Yellowstone. They're going to continue over to Jackson or vice versa. But it allows people to truly experience this in an intentional manner.
Yep. I think the theme you've hit on is experience. We want it to be an experience. They're already traveling through, and then that the goals there is just be year round. We're open all the time. Come experience this area, and so that's wonderful.
Yeah, giving them a place to stop.
Yep.
Giving them some options. Someone, like I said, I drive that road all the time, and I see these campers or family units with bike racks and things on them that just driving right on by. And then we all wonder why the windows in some of the stores are all boarded up. It's not because it wasn't profitable. It's just because the family is tired and there was no one to take over afterwards.
Yep.
And so having a reason for someone to want to take over a family restaurant or business or gas station or things like that, and because there's going to be traffic coming through.
Right.
And then, or someone that's willing, man, I might just move here and take that on because I hate the city.
Yep.
And this is great. I love this out here. Things like that. Looking for true economic diversification and that experience. And Wyoming has always been an extraction state where we have been heavy on extracting natural resources and minerals and things like that. And it puts bread and butter on everybody's table in here. And so, however, the way the political culture is, or that's just the way things are going, we're not as dependent on that, or we aren't becoming as dependent on that. But one thing that Wyoming truly has is those experiences, and people are still extracting those, but at lesser physical cost to our natural resources. People can go in, they can take their photo, they can have fun, they can do that. They are now extracting a good time from Wyoming.
Yep.
And so we're still always going to be in the extraction industry.
Yeah. Yeah, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Love it. I would just like to end with December 11th, Market Hall for the big fundraiser. Opening days, hopefully December 17th. Everything's online, and John would recommend just go online and make it easier anyways.
Yes.
If you're a big skier or snowboarder, I would imagine you do that anyways with those chips and your just might as well do that, because then if you're...
That's the way people do things. That's the way commerce happens now.
Yep.
So we're trying to make that happen for you too.
Very
Love
cool.
it. Well, John, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have Antelope Butte in studio. So we're hoping for a great season. And be careful, it might be hot.
E.T.
Yeah, E.T.
Ouch. Sorry, I love you.
No, you're good.
All right.
Elliot. Sorry.
Sweet.
But that's all we have. So thanks, John.
Thank you for having me.